Alright, let's look at practice exam 2, problem number 3. Alright, so we want to use a sign chart to solve this inequality. Alright, so let's do that. Alright, first I'm gonna actually name this function f of x so that we can call it something. So you have f of x. Right? So we want this function to be positive. Right? So first thing we do is try to find the zeros of the this function. Right? Zeros are just the x-intercepts. Right? So in order to find zeros, we set the function equal to 0. So we have x squared plus 5x over x minus 3. Right? So we set this guy equal to 0. Right? Then you can see that we can just set the numerator equal to 0. And I'm going to actually factor out the x from the numerator. So it's a x. Then you have x plus 5. Right? So we can set that equal to 0. Right? This will give us two zeros. So one is x equals 0. And also the other one is negative 5. Right? And also, we want to find the x values where function is undefined. So I'll just say undefined. Right? So since it's a rational function, this guy is undefined whenever the denominator becomes 0. So we set the denominator equal to 0. Alright, then we can just add 3 to both sides so that we know that x equals 3. Right? So f of x is undefined when x equals 3. Alright? So we're going to use those point numbers to place tick marks on the x-axis, I mean the number line, I should say. Alright, so 0, actually it doesn't have to be in the right scale, so I just put 0 there. So I'm going to put negative 5 there, and I'm going to put 3 there. Alright, then we're interested in the sign of f, right? So we know that, let's see, function negative 5, at negative 5 and 0, this function is 0 because those are the zeros. So we put 0 here and the 0 there. All right. And at x equals 3, function is undefined. So I'll just say not defined, ND, right? Or UD, undefined. That's either way. All right. Then we just need to determine the sign of f on each interval. So you have 4 different intervals here. So pick any sample point on that interval. So I choose something smaller than negative 5, so it's negative 6. Between negative 5 and 0, I'll probably use negative 1. And between 0 and 3, I'll use positive 1. After 3, I'll probably use, say, 4. Alright, so let's look at the sign. So f of x looks like this, f of x. And I'm going to look at the factored out version. So on numerator, I'm going to write it as x times x plus 5. And then you have x minus 3. Right? So let's look at the sign. Right? So let's try negative 6. Right? If you put negative 6 there, that's going to be negative there. Right? Negative 6 plus 5 is still negative. Right? Negative 6, 9 minus 6, 3 is negative. So negative divided by multiplied by negative is positive. Positive divided by negative is negative. So it's negative here. Right? Then let's try negative 1. So I'm going to erase these. Right? Then negative 1. So this is going to be negative. Negative 1 plus 5 is now positive. Negative 1 minus 3 is negative, right? Negative times positive is negative. Negative divided by negative is positive. So we have a positive sign there, right? Then let's try positive 1, right? So if you put the positive 1 here, so that will be positive there, right? 1 plus 5 is again positive. And 1 minus 3 is still negative. So positive times positive is positive. Positive divided by negative is negative. Right? And the last one is x equals positive 4. So let's look at that. Right? So this x is positive. Right? 4 plus 5 is positive. 4 minus 3 is finally positive. So everyone's positive. So it's positive. Right? So we have that. So that's kind of how you determine the sign. Then remember that we want this function to be greater than 0. So we know exactly where we want it. We want positive, so it's going to be here and also there. Right? So therefore, the solution set is going to be between negative 5 and 0. And also from 3 to positive infinity. Alright, so the reason why I'm using parentheses is that we do not want to include endpoints. Since we want a function to be strictly positive, so at negative 5 and at x equals 0, function is actually equal to 0, so we shouldn't include those. And we should never include 3 because function is not even defined there, so you should have left parenthesis there. Alright, that's it. I hope that this was clear.